Welcome back to the What If It Works podcast. I am your host, Ann Vogt, and today I have a very special guest with us. It is Richelle Norton from North Star Art Club, and we're going to be talking about a lot of things today. Now, I know this is a culture podcast, and you're probably thinking to yourself, what does art have to do with culture? And we are literally going to answer that today. How can you utilize some of those creative talents of yours and take it with you into the workplace, or utilize art outside of the workplace so that you are fueled up, ready to get back to work the next day? So I am so excited. Thank you, Richelle, for being here. I cannot wait for our conversation. We are good friends. Should we tell them about our past? Should we tell them how we're connected? All right, I'll let you tell that story.
I think we should tell them what we're doing tonight also.
We have a very special event tonight. We'll leave that. We'll let them watch our social media channels for that. See if they can find us in a VIP section somewhere.
Let's see. Well, Anne, my very first memory of you is in 5th grade when I switched schools, and you were doing kind of like a little song and dance routine at recess. There was a big song at the time that was popular that this is before TikTok. This is, probably 94, probably 30 years ago.
So funny. So Richelle and I grew up in the same neighborhood. We met in 5th grade at Roosevelt Elementary, and then kind of throughout middle school, high school, stayed connected, definitely like summer run around buddies, and on our bikes and going down to Dairy Queen and doing all sorts of stuff around the neighborhood. So good memories of growing up. And we're actually going to be talking a little bit about that. Let's actually start with, because for those of you who don't know, this is take 2 of our episode recording, because take 1 did not work. Technology was not our friend. So take 2. Tell me about your life growing up and utilizing art as a creative outlet for you.
Well, so my sisters are a lot older, and they were kind of out of the house when I was growing up. So they were in college when I was very, very young. And my mom, I just had a conversation with her recently about this. My mom is an educator herself, and she would kind of from time to time purchase, like maybe via catalog, those little kind of like collage kits and things. Because I don't even know if there were craft stores in Mankato at the time. But
I don't think so.
Yeah, maybe Fabric though. And anyway, she wanted to give me creative opportunities because I was kind of stuck with older adults all the time, as how she phrased it. She on text said that you were stuck with old people all the time, Richelle. So I wanted to make sure that you had enough things to kind of keep yourself busy. And it was the 90s. There was no internet. And so I could kind of cut up and collage any magazine or mailing that came to the house. My mom was really flexible with letting me decorate my entire room with zoo books, magazines, and Ranger Rick. And if Anne remembers my room, it was kind of almost like an immersive collage when you walked in my room.
It could be now put in a museum as an art exhibit, like 1990s bedroom meets creative thinker.
And my mom honestly was not a materialistic person and still isn't. And so she was never concerned about like ruining the carpet or that's going to take the paint off the wall kind of a mentality, because my dad would repaint and it wasn't an issue. Or we just never really had the nicest carpet or furniture in the basement. And so, imagine that like 1990s wood paneling and an orange sofa, and it was kind of this rainbowy carpet with no padding. And so she was never concerned about like spilling or messes. She always provided the creative space for me.
Yeah.
And it was not about like, oh no, you made a mess and that was frowned upon. And so I think that's kind of why, that's one of the whys for this space, is to give students of all ages and even adults that creative freedom and flexibility to experiment, to explore. Your art doesn't have to be perfect. We're here to learn. Just like we're redoing the podcast today, you have to be flexible, you have to be persistent. And so there's all these different things that art and working through the creative process teach anyone. And
Yes.
so I think, yeah, that's just kind of one of my whys is my mom, with allowing really the supplies and materials and the space. And so it's almost kind of like a STEAM or like a maker space. It would be now. I think that's what people gravitate towards now, is kind of what the basement was for me
For
growing up.
you. I love that. And I love that you bring up, that she wasn't materialistic and would allow you to have this creative freedom, and it wouldn't matter about the mess. And that's interesting. You mentioned she was older when you were young. And I think of that now, man. When my daughter was little, I was like, you cannot use all that tape. Why? Be careful. Or, oh, we can't cut up all this paper and then just throw it away. And then fast forward 8 years when we hit COVID and it's 2020. I literally was like, here's tape, here's paper towel rolls, here's cardboard boxes from Amazon, like, go to town, girlfriend. Like, and her and Landon would sit in their bedrooms and be like so proud of these sculptures they had made out of old recyclable like materials. And so, but I do think that comes with time. When we're younger moms, we want everything to be the right way sometimes, and like letting go and allowing for that creativity and that freedom, and realizing like the importance of that. And so how cool that your mom gave you that at such a young age, and you've kind of stuck with that throughout time of being this creative person. Now, you mentioned the North Star Art Club. So you want to create a space, or you have created a space. You opened last month, July. Would that be right? July of
Well,
2024?
our very first camp was July 9th, was the very
Okay.
first day. And
Amazing.
then our grand opening was, I think, exactly a month ago.
Okay. Awesome. So we've been open about a month, and you wanted to create this space for other people to have the opportunity to be creative. Tell me a little bit more about the background of you really wanting this space, and kind of what's happened in the last few years, and how that's really encouraged you and pulled out of you to make something for people to experience creativity, but also feel safe.
Well, I originally went to school to teach Spanish and EL, and then I ended up using my Spanish in finance for 10 years. So I didn't end up going into teaching how Ann did, right away, when there were very few jobs to be had. That's a whole different conversation. But if you've listened to her other podcasts, you know about what that was like for her. So I didn't get into teaching, but my parents are educators, my grandparents were educators. It's just in my blood. So it was something that I always wanted to get back to. I was actually educating adults and speakers of other languages in the realm of retirement planning and 401k. So I was doing adult ed in Spanish and English for those 10 years. And then COVID hit, we had a very interesting presidency to live through. George Floyd is killed about 3 miles from my home in Minneapolis. My daughter has 7th grade in a beanbag in the basement by herself. And so all of those factors really motivated me to go back to school to teach art, because I think art is such a powerful way for students to process what they're going through. There is not a art therapy licensure in Minnesota. There is in California. But that's something I was most interested in. So right now we have an art and mindfulness camp where we're talking about how making art is good for us, and it helps us process our experiences. It's really amazing for your brain. Your brain lights up in all these different areas, especially with clay when you're using both hands. It's connecting both sides of your brain. So my space here is above and beyond just painting a pretty box or making a cute thing to take home. This is really about why art making is part of a healthy lifestyle, just like working out or eating your vegetables. Um, if you think about it too, I mean, we were never meant to sit in a cubicle in front of a screen all day long. I mean, 100 years ago, our great grandmas were sewing all the time. They were making art in so many aspects of their daily life with cooking and quilting and just what they needed to do to get by. And so I think now our lifestyle is very sterilized from art. And
Yeah.
so even just giving yourself, so Thursday nights is for adults, it's called Caregivers Create, giving yourself that flexible creative space and permission and opportunity to do something that you also love, and maybe as a parent you haven't taken the time out for yourself for a very very long time to do that. So I think this space just kind of helps us get back to those things that we love or maybe we were passionate about at one point, and then life gets busy and hectic and sometimes you get away from those things.
Yeah, what I love about what you're saying in this moment is I think you're talking to a very specific group of people that once felt they were creative and want to get back to that. But I want to talk about the Ann Votes of the world who never believed they were creative, who never wanted to take an art class, literally took art history to avoid taking art in high school because I had this belief in my brain that I was not a creative person, that I couldn't paint, I couldn't draw, I couldn't sculpt, I couldn't come up with new ideas. And so I wanted textbooks and questions and answers and specifics, and I avoided art. However, I then found art later in life to challenge me and fell in love with letting go and that release.
Mhm.
So you were just describing, getting centered and coming back to your power and things like that. And I love utilizing art to just like let it go. It's hard for me because I am a very much type A personality who wants structure and perfectionism, and I'm working on it. I'm working on it. And I think a Thursday night class for me would be very helpful to just go, do, create, walk away, and come back again next time, instead of this desire to have everything perfect. And I think in a work environment, what I love about you saying about the screens, we are so driven to do well at work, and because we see that as advancement financially and whatnot. But what if we were driven to help our brains
Mhm.
relax, utilize that creativity? I love how you said process. Did you say process your past?
It's absolutely, yeah. It's one
Yeah,
thing.
a way for you to process what you've been through and sit in
Mhm.
silence. How much of us are at work and it's busy and it's loud and there's people all over and we're constantly in motion, giving ourselves permission to sit and think, which maybe is why I didn't like art because I'm afraid to do those things. I'm afraid to reflect sometimes on where I want to go or what I'm doing or what I haven't gotten done. And so I really want to take a minute to talk to those people who do feel busy. They feel like they're in the rat race, they feel like they're on the hamster wheel, and they don't know how to get off. And I think art could be that avenue for them. Besides coming to your studio, absolutely, I want to encourage everyone to come to the art club. Let's just take a minute to talk about what people could do at home on their own. Like, how could we inspire them to just take a time out and do that for themselves? What are some things that you would, if somebody said, oh, I could never come to a class, what are some things you would encourage them to do on their own?
Well, I think what you kind of mentioned about journaling and reflecting too is so powerful in writing. I mean, art takes many forms, right? So, are you interested in journaling? Does that help you process, even if you're just saying, and with the majority of your work with corporations, even if you're just journaling, hey, I'm annoyed with my coworker today. And
Yeah.
just to get that out. And then you don't have to just let it
Just
go,
release it.
release it.
Yes.
Exactly. So I think journaling is really powerful. I think you can draw with a paper and pencil. You don't have to have very specialized supplies. You don't have to make a whole thing about it. So even just, okay, I have a plant and you've got a beautiful plant right behind you. Do some observational drawing, set the timer for 10 minutes and say, I'm not looking at my phone. I'm not doing anything else. I'm looking out the window. I'm looking at the sky. Maybe you have some Crayola watercolors that are from your student at home. Yeah, again, just giving yourself kind of that permission to dabble. And it doesn't have to be perfect. It doesn't have to be anything. It could just be, hey, I'm going to cut up this old recipe book that I never use and make a collage about my favorite desserts or something because it makes
Yes.
me happy. My daughter had friends over for New Year's and they made vision boards for 2024. So that's something you could definitely do at home.
I love it. Even, yeah, for those entrepreneurs who have goals, sitting down and really thinking through those goals. I think sometimes we get so obsessed with got to do the work, got to do the things, got to make the next post and taking a time out of where am I going, right? We're halfway through 2024. What does the second half of the year look like for you? Maybe you draw that out. Maybe you write. I know we did a ton of word collages when we were young. I remember sitting in basements or on couches and cutting up tons of teen magazines we probably
Yeah.
shouldn't be reading at the age we were. But anyways, cutting those up and looking for words that speak to us or colors or things like that. I think that's there's a couple things in there, right? Get that anger out with that scissors, but also create something exceptional as well. Another thing you mentioned, so you mentioned journaling and then doing those typical art activities. But another thing we know that's really great for our brains and our bodies and our energy is to get outside in nature. And
Yep.
I forget that like photography is a form of art as well. Last night I got done playing 2 hours outside pickleball and I was so hot. I didn't even want to drive home. I just wanted to sit in my air conditioned car. And so I went for a drive through our state park. Beautiful purple flowers with the sunset in the background, golden hour. It was like 8:15 and I literally stood outside getting eaten alive by mosquitoes just to take a cool picture. But it made me happy and it made me feel creative and those are things that sometimes I'm missing. And so it was really neat to like it is artsy and it is creative to do those things. And so get out, go for a walk, look for things that inspire you, I think is also something you can do for free, right? And that's
Absolutely.
I love
Mhm.
that. But now let's talk about coming to the art club. So, North Star Art Club, your whole purpose is to provide a safe space for people to be, but then also be creative and explore.
So I was teaching in Minneapolis public schools for the past 2 years. I was teaching every single seventh and eighth grader in the building. And so when you were earlier, you mentioned like, I don't want to make art. I'm not good. That was kind of my passion was because I had every single student. They didn't have a choice if they wanted to be in my space. So I do really love engaging and working with people that feel tentative about it. And I find that mixed media is really phenomenal and collage works really well to kind of tiptoe into the space or just channeling like your favorite things into your art, if it's sports or fishing or whatever. This is inspired by a mom that I was talking to on the phone that I had to call about a student. And she just said, I really love art too. And I never take the time out and do that anymore. And so, and even I don't, which is interesting. You would maybe think that, oh, you're an art teacher, you make art all the time. But as a mom, also really it's all about the kids. It's all about the other people. And so I have subscribed to various, you get the recording of this session for 2 weeks and it's 3 hours long and I don't even take the time to carve out that time within the 2-week time frame, and then I lose the recording. So even for myself, I think it's something good to keep in mind. So Thursday nights is for adults, or over 18, I guess I would say.
Okay.
And then the majority of the programming is for 3rd through 8th graders. So I was teaching middle school. I'm still working on learning about attention span with younger students, because my daughter is 16 and she's always had kind of that hyper focus ability as well with her art. And so we've been having a lot of fun getting pre-K students and preschoolers into the space with our Caregiver and Me Saturday classes that are 90 minutes.
Okay.
Those have been a blast.
Is it just once on Saturday? What time?
So 10 a.m. and 1 p.m. And it's
Oh,
really
okay.
interesting because it completely varies. The first one, the 10 a.m. was sold out, and the second time we ran it, the 1 p.m. was sold out. So you come in with your student, so it's more of a collaborative art making experience with your child, because you can't go to school with them. And
No, you
so it's
cannot.
really fun to have the parent and the student working together on their projects.
Yeah, what a fun Saturday morning. Now, are you finding those are mostly moms and their child, or what are you finding with the attendance so far?
The first one was 50% dads, which
I
was
love that.
amazing, and it was so fun. The second one was all moms. So it
Okay.
just really depends, but I love opening it up and having that title of caregiver in me, because maybe an aunt brings their student, maybe a nanny, maybe a grandparent comes in. It's really flexible.
Yeah,
Um, and then the summer camps, sorry, marketing, are
I
more
love it.
for 3rd through 8th right now.
So
And then, oh, sorry.
run through that list because I think this episode is going to air very soon. So let's talk August opportunities. August 2024 in case people are listening to this in the future. Go ahead.
Yes. Right now we have art and mindfulness, which has been amazing. That just started yesterday, and the mom walked in to pick up the students, and she said, "It's silent in here," was her comment
I
when she
love it.
walked in. Next week is favorite things collage. So that's that mixed media component we were kind of talking about, very tactile for those more hands-on type of students. Working with a vision board that week, working with our favorite things. I'm not telling you specifically you have to make this about sports, but if you like sports, make it about sports. So my teaching style is more open and flexible and creative. And I think that students really appreciate being able to run with what they're interested in. Then after
Absolutely.
that is kind of all about color. It's called Be Bold, Be Bright, Painting and Drawing. So all about the power of color, learning about artists, and picking really interesting color schemes to work with. And then Poisonous Creatures is the week
Ooh.
of August 19th, and we have a guest science teacher coming in.
Ooh, that's fun.
And then, the week of August 26th, I guess there's not a lot of school programming because I think they're buffing the floors for back to school that week. So some families are really excited about the drawing and painting camp that is that final week before Labor Day weekend, before back to school and everything
Kind of
ramps
kicks
back
off.
up. Yeah.
Yeah. So, and all of those courses that you just described, all those camps are for grades 3 through 8, correct?
Yes. Yep. And then
Yes.
it's kind of about attention span too. So if you say, hey, my student is younger, but they really can work
Focus.
for 2 hours,
Yeah.
I'm definitely flexible to that because I'm still learning after, working with older students.
But you're not leaving teens out of your programming. You have a really cool opportunity for teenagers, which I think we would have really loved. And now again, I was not super into art, but I was very into social activities where I could engage and interact and produce something. And so tell everybody what you've got going on for teens.
Yeah. So Ann and I used to go bowling a lot when we were going into freshman year because you can't drive. Um, we needed that space to meet our friends. It was a lower cost. I think it was teen night, actually, is what it was called. And so, what um, is our Sunday night programming is called Teen Open Studio. So, it's from 4 to 7 p.m., and it's structured under the premise of remembering high school and also being a parent of a high schooler right now. You don't have a lot of flexibility in your schedule for those electives all the time because you're so focused on your pre-college programming, or freshman year you just don't really, there's not a lot of space for flexibility in your schedule with health and gym and all those things you need to take. So the Teen Open Studio is Sunday evenings from 4 to 7, and it's just that safe space for kids to come in. I'll have some project ideas for them. Otherwise, if they really like anime or whatever they're personally into, they can channel that into their art. I have all the materials available. I kind of love Miss Frizzle from Magic School Bus. So imagine me as your personal Miss Frizzle here with a lofted space with a variety of materials that you can just kind of dabble in and utilize. It's having that working with the older students, but in a way that also works for them and is sensitive to being flexible for what they need and what they also want to do.
Yeah, I love that. And I really think, in general, you mentioned kind of society and how society has changed. Here we are, and a lot of students are hanging out at home and they're very isolated and they're very alone. And studies are showing that it is not good for their mental health. And so, for you to offer a space that not only is a safe space, they get to hang out, but they also get to channel that creativity, try something new. I could foresee somebody coming in thinking, oh, I just know how to draw. I don't know how to do those other things. And then watching another teen do it and maybe them becoming more comfortable and trying it themselves. And again, going back to accessibility, I love that you are providing the materials for them. We know that not everybody has the opportunity to go to that store and buy all the stuff and get all the chalk or get all the oil pastels or whatever it is that you're going to have on hand. And so the fact that they can come and do that and do it in a safe space with other people who kind of have the same purpose too, to get away and yet do something creative at the same time. So I love that you're doing that, having that opportunity available. Now, school is starting soon, as you mentioned. What does that kind of look like for the art club? What kind of programming are you going to have?
Sure. So that's kind of the majority of the plan. For my why is that high quality after school programming. So I have my master's degree. I also have 16 years of mom experience. So that higher quality, but also approachable after school art club programming is the core of the business. So if you pick Mondays, your student is here from 4:15 till I think 6 roughly on Mondays. Um, they're meeting up with maybe friends from other schools. They're
Yeah.
collaborating. We're working on skill development. So there's different art clubs after school for different ages. So there's a 3 to 5, and then there's middle school. I'm also working on maybe the possibility of some younger students. And so then just like gymnastics or any other after school commitment, you're coming in every Monday to have that art club experience.
Very cool. And I love that. We used to joke, my daughter is not big into sports and she tried different things. But man, once we got her into a pottery class, it was like, okay, this is it. This is what we're doing for our summer programming. And so I love that you have an opportunity, just like sports are an after school, program that other parents can go to or other kids can go to. Now you're offering art in that same space and that creative outlet, which I think is incredible. Very cool. Let's pull this back to all people and what you gain when you immerse yourself in art. or even just the act of thinking creatively? What are some things that people gain in that realm?
Well, what you just said, and what I was really teaching my seventh and eighth graders is creative problem solving and thinking outside
Yes.
the box. And you need that for the rest of your life. You need to be flexible. You need to be persistent. You need to figure out, okay, I tried this, maybe it didn't work, or here's my idea that I'm bringing to the table. And so for me, teaching art was about creative problem solving more than anything. It's also incredibly healthy for your brain. So you release dopamine, serotonin, and oxytocin that can relieve anxiety and depression. You can feel a sense of accomplishment when you make something you like, when you make something you don't like. That helps you work through it. It helps you with flexibility and persistence. We talked about reflecting on prior experiences, and maybe it's a trip you went on and you're inspired to make a watercolor painting or an acrylic painting about this beautiful landscape that you saw when you were in Montana or Michigan or wherever you were. And so, those lasting memories that then, if you have a painting about it, are also very visual. And we just had Paint Your Pet. I actually have my daughter's painting
I
of our
love
dog who looks like a Muppet right here.
that
Um,
is so good. For those of you watching on YouTube, wow. I love it.
so you're, commemorating your furry family member, and that's something lasting. Um, so there's a lot
Yeah.
of different things, making those memories last, I guess, above and beyond on our
Yeah.
phones or social media or in your brain or in your
Right.
journal.
So many of the people that I coach and clients and, companies that bring me in, I think you just hit every single one of them. You're like, it reduces anxiety, it increases happiness, it increases creative thinking, it helps with problem solving. Like, this is literally why people hire me to come in, is they're like, help us problem solve, help us, raise the culture, like the positive culture around our space. And so another business idea for you would be to do some art clubs during the day with like a small business. I could see them bringing all their staff into you to do something new and creative as like a little retreat or a little getaway
Yeah,
for them to calm down, release some of that stress, but also increase that serotonin and dopamine and oxytocin and all that good stuff too. So if you're listening to this and you're thinking to yourself, man, how cool would that be to allow our office or our managers or whatever it is to step into a space, be guided by an instructor, but give them an opportunity to connect with each other and also, gain all those benefits we just talked about. That would be so cool. So tell us where they can find you, online and
sure.
website, all that good stuff. Where are you at?
Yes. So right now, well, this space is at 50th and France, so it's where Edina and Minneapolis intersect. So I'm on the Minneapolis side of France Avenue. The other side of France Avenue is Edina.
Perfect.
And let's see. Okay. Oh, you can find us at northstarartclub.com. And we're kind of open every day right now.
So many incredible art opportunities, but that's not all that is happening at the North Star Art Club. Tell us about how you're using your other expertise and helping the students and community at the same time.
Sure. So Saturday mornings is Saturday morning Spanish, and that's what I originally fell in love with when we were 17 and had the opportunity to go to Spain with our high school Spanish teacher. Um, so I will be teaching like a beginner level, kind of a Spanish 101 course. I just opened it up to fifth graders as well. So it'll be fifth through eighth. Due to the budget crisis in Minneapolis public schools, some languages have been reduced. And I didn't know that actually when I created this opportunity. It was just going with my gut and what I personally love. And so Saturday Morning Spanish is also here. And it's a nice way. Maybe your student went to like immersion preschool or they went to a Spanish immersion school for a period of time. And so, as language is like riding a bike where it's still back there, we just need to access it. And so giving students that opportunity to access the part of their brain where the foreign language resides and learn about art in Spanish speaking countries and learn about why learning a language is so amazing and helps connect you to more people and more friends, just like, and you can meet even more people when you
That's
speak another
right.
language. So
I love that.
seeing the relevancy, I think, is amazing for students and learning about why it's beneficial for them to do it. So every single job that I have had has been because of my Spanish speaking skills. That's what's gotten me in the door and differentiated me from the candidate pool. So I
Yeah.
think adding one more thing to my course catalog for me felt really, really natural. And there's 14 spots available. All of my class sizes are quite small because of my space. And so getting those kids to connect in a different way, make new friends again. If you have a friend that's in a different school, you can go together. And so just giving students a lot of varied opportunities to learn and be creative in the space.
I love this. Now, are you signing up? Are kids signing up for a certain amount of time? Are they dropping into these Saturday Spanish class? What does that look like?
Well, learning a language is kind of like math, so you really need it to be sequential. So the Saturday morning Spanish is ultimately for the full duration of the school year. I mean, I'm almost thinking there might be a need to add, maybe we also do Tuesday nights at 7 or something like that. If the Saturday morning time frame isn't the best. Right now,
Yeah.
we just opened, and so I'm really flexible to hearing what the community needs. I had a mom contact me and she said, "You don't have any programming for 6 year olds. I would love to get something scheduled for my rising first grader." And I didn't have to do anything. She sold out the class herself. So, behold the power of moms. And,
Yes.
you
And an
know,
idea,
reach
right?
out if you have people. Oh, we're also doing birthday parties too. So
Perfect.
lots of things are happening here. Yeah. Reach out if there's something that you're not seeing. There's a tremendous amount of programming online, whether you're looking for something to fill some space and structure in August for
Yeah.
your students still, or if you're looking for the back to school programming, that's already available, as well as all the MPS non-school days and all the Edina non-school days when they have
Oh, very
those,
cool.
random Wednesdays off. We already have that listed as well.
Oh, amazing. So you're headed to your website for that. Otherwise, they can follow you on social media at North Star Art Club on Instagram. Are you also on Facebook?
I'm on Facebook, I'm on Twitter, I'm on LinkedIn.
So excited for you and for the students who come through the door to meet you and engage with you and create art in your space and have that free space and that creative space. It's going to be incredible. You're just launching. I cannot wait to interview next summer, right? When you've got a year under your belt and more kids through the door. So watch her social media channels, check out the website, contact her for any of your needs. I love that you mentioned that people have brought concerns to you or they've shared personal things and you've been able to say, hey, let's make a class for that, right? Having
Mhm.
that mom say, I just don't have time. But guess what? We can have time when we schedule it in. And so get yourself in that adult class on Thursdays. What an awesome opportunity to meet other people, too. I know some caregivers, we kind of isolate ourselves. And so have that opportunity to meet other people and be creative at the same time. So thank you so much for today. I'm so excited for you. This has just been another awesome episode talking to a female entrepreneur out there doing great things for the good of the people. And that's what we're all about here. So thank you for creating change.
Thanks, Anne.